want to talk about the power of the 501c3 first. I know a lot of questions came over this weekend about, do we need it? Does the church need it? Do we need to have a separate one? Which one should we have first? And we're gonna talk about that. But I first want to make clarity the difference between having your articles of incorporation as a nonprofit versus being tax exempt. Everybody that incorporates on the state level is already nonprofit. Okay, that means you can start all your charitable activities, but you're not tax exempt until you go to the next level of applying for the 501c3 status. Now, I know it sounds like a fancy word, 501c3. One guy came up and said, I don't even know how to say it. C3, 5, what is it? It's the tax exempt status. There's 27 different 501c status. 501c 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 27. The 501c3 is just a number that the IRS assigns to tax-exempt organization. And this is the 501c3 status is the only one that's the most favorable status, because if I write you a check, then I can write that off on my taxes. If you get a grant, then the grantors or the funders, I'm using that name interchangeably today, they can write that off on their taxes. So that's the difference between tax-exempt and nonprofit. The other benefit of having that tax-exempt status is you get grants. A grant is just a gift. It can come in form of money. A lot of people say, no, give me the money. But I will take things too. You can furnish my whole building, rather than giving me the money if that's what I need. So before we leave today, I do want you to write your wish list of everything you need for your nonprofit, whether it's for your church or for your CDC or for your after-school program. Write down a wish list, because we always think about going for the money, but you may get a hotel that's going out of business that can give you beds for your transition home. Would you take that? It happens. I've seen it happen, okay? This is one thing. I had a pastor call me, and he said, listen, we're going to shut the church down. We're going to move, and so can you help me get rid of this 501c3? I said, well, are you going to, start a church in your other city? He goes, well, eventually we will. I said, but then we don't want to tell IRS we're going to shut it down, because that will follow you. It's good in all 50 states. You only have to reincorporate in your new state when you decide you want to keep this going, okay? That's a good deal. It lasts forever if you're a church. But if you're not a church and you have a separate nonprofit that's not a church, and what I define, not I define, so let me fix that. What the IRS define as a church is one that has religious services, Sunday and midweek service. Because I get a lot of people come to me, and it sounds confusing. They say, well, we have an outreach, where we have a ministry. They use those names interchangeably, but it's not a church. So it's very confusing. So if you're doing a Sunday service and a midweek service, then that's a church. Everything else, no matter how you define it, that's not a church to the IRS. Okay? Anybody heard of Form 990? Yeah, somebody say, yeah, like, ooh, I know. The Form 990 is an income tax form that all nonprofits have to file except churches. Let me say that again. Churches do not file Form 990s. It's just like a 1040, but it's called 990. But if you have something other than a church, make sure that you file your 990s, because what's happened recently, over 250,000 nonprofits lost their tax-exempt status because they did not file that 990 3 years in a row. That's a lot of nonprofits, and that's a lot of people that they were helping. So without that, they weren't able to get the grants they were normally getting. They weren't able to get the donations. So you want to do those 990s. Make sure you do it every year. And don't listen to anybody when they say, well, we didn't make any money, so I didn't think we have to do it. Put 0 on it and turn it in anyways and keep a copy of it. Okay? Now, I want to talk about the outreach versus church, because I know a lot of you here, because you're doing things outside of church. Church is not the way it used to be when my grandma Rosine went to St. John Missionary Baptist Church for 78 years. It's changed now. You're doing so many other things, educational, after-school programs. You're helping people come out of prison. You're doing multiple things, marriage counseling, many, many things. I can go on and on, the list of things that churches do outside of preaching the gospel. So I want you to start thinking about these two names. Don't mean you have to use these names I'm getting ready to give you, but I want you to at least think about it, because these are the key words that most faith-based organizations are using to get grants. Community Development Corporation. I know you've been hearing about it, CDC, and some people call it Community Development Center. So you can call it either one, but basically this is you doing what you do. Any social activities, whether it's feeding the homeless, whether it's, after school programs, tutoring. This is what's called community development. You're developing people in your community to do better. Also, another key word is Economic Development Corporation. Economic Development Corporation, the difference between these two is economic is going to benefit everybody. You're doing job creation or job retention. You may be building housing programs. You may even be doing mortgage default loans. That's helping people economically. So I'm saying the word keyword because that's what you're going to use when you start looking for grants. And we're going to get further into that. But write those down because those are going to be the main keywords for most faith-based organizations. Also, community economic development. It's pretty much the same thing except that you're focused on just your community. You go to some cities and they say, well, this used to be this area. This area used to be for the Jewish people. This area used to be for the black people. And then we had a great business. This area used to be Hispanic, all Hispanic. We had restaurants and everything, but all that has shut down and died down. It happens a lot in the downtown areas. So that's what they call community economic development. I know a lot of you live in rural areas or some urban areas. So another key word could be rural or urban economic development. So when you start looking for grants from the government, these are going to be the key words that you use. Some other key words that are trending are literacy, after-school programs, marriage and family counseling. By the way, I know that this is time sensitive, so I'm going to have my information at the end of the session, and you can email me, and I'll send you a copy of this PowerPoint. Is that all right? Okay. Fitness and nutrition is big. Michelle Obama started that Let's Move campaign, so there's grants for those type of things. Also, fatherhood initiatives. That's been around for a long time, since, George W. Bush. So this is still current. This is still current. And again, these are just a few keywords. There's hundreds and hundreds. I don't want you to look for a grant for any of these keywords if this is not what you do, okay? So stay in your lane, if you will. And if you do after-school programs, then look for grants for literacy, or you can use the word youth, or whatever you do. So don't try to say, oh, well, there's grants for fatherhood, let's do that. It's not going to fit with you because you're going to end up way over here when you should have stayed here, okay? RFP, any grant writers in the house? Okay, see, hey, and it's a man over there, I can't see. I'm sorry. I see the lights blinding me. Oh, my God. I heard the voice. I'm so sorry. Well, I'm glad you're here, and y'all see her raise her hand. So most grant writers know what this means. See, the funders, they don't have time to find us. So they'll submit RFPs to the Foundation Center, and what that means is they're requesting you to submit them a proposal. So RFP means request for a proposal. You might see the word RFA, request for application. And on these RFPs, it will tell you who is eligible for the grant. This is where all the time takes, the time that you spend looking for grants when you're looking for the eligibility criteria. So when you look on a grant and you'll see, okay, this is not for literacy, so that's not for me. Then move on. Don't try to force it if it doesn't fit. A lot of people say, well, we still gonna write. We're just gonna believe God. Don't do it. Don't do it. I hear it all the time. We're gonna believe God. It'll also tell you when the deadline is. This is so critical. A lot of people miss out on grant opportunities because they miss the deadline. And what a lot of people don't know is you can ask for a courtesy review of your grants. Doesn't mean that they're going to do it, but you may have the opportunity to have a courtesy review. Always ask. Ask. Okay? You have not because you... So ask them if they'll do a courtesy review. And basically what a courtesy review, they'll look over your grant. They may say, hey, you know what, I didn't really understand your budget, or you put a line item on there that we're not going to fund, so you may want to remove that. And what this does, this gives them one opportunity to look over your grant. So if they say, hey, you know, this is going to be good. So when that grant comes to the grant review committee, somebody has already seen that grant. So that may help you. So always ask for a courtesy review, whether they do it or not. The RFP will also tell you the award amount. Listen to me clearly. If they say this grant is only for $10,000, please do not ask them for $1 million. You're going to be put in that gray cylinder that sits beside people's desks. You know what I'm talking about? The trash can? So ask for what, if they say this is for $10,000, but if you have $1 million budget, take $10,000 out of that million and put that on the grant, okay? It's the little things that people get denied for, things like that, putting $1 million when they say it's only for $10,000. Also, how many projects will be funded. The government grants are very good about telling you how many projects they'll fund. For example, somebody emailed me a grant for immigration. They help a lot of Hispanics and Haitians get their immigration papers, and so the government was given $125,000, and they can renew it every year, but they were only going to give 40 grants. So what I suggest, if you see any grants like that, what people don't know is all the grants are public information. Don't expect them to FedEx it to you if you ever want to see one, but you can request, may I see a copy of an approved grant that was submitted? You know, they may send you an old one, but at least you'll see what they're looking for, and you'll at least see the judging criteria, because every grant is scored. There's scoring criteria, so you kind of see what they're looking for. So it's important to ask for these things. I had an opportunity to go to D.C. in the year 2000, courtesy of Oprah Winfrey, to speak on the Senate floor on issues of funding for hunger issues. I had a community kitchen school, and we needed funding for, you know, the after-school programs that we were doing, and we would use the food to then feed the hungry. So when I was there, I had a chance, and if you ever get a chance, you know, all your senators and your congressmen, they have an office in your city and they have an office in D.C. They all have grant writers in their office. All of them. Even your mayor have a grant writer in their office, because they have to write the grant on the local level to get money for your state, even for your zip code. And you may not even know there's money even for your zip code that's assigned to your zip code. So what you want to do is try to build relationships with them. Go as often as you can to let them know that you know that they're in the city. Let them know that you're in the city and that you make a difference. But when I was in D.C., I had a chance to visit some of the offices, and I had a chance to look at some of the grants. And that's how I ended up getting on one of the grant review committees. Also, that's a great way to learn about grant writing. Volunteer to be a grant reviewer. On the state level, on the city level, your mayor's office always needs grant reviewers. United Way always need grant reviewers. And there's multiple community foundations right in your city that needs a community volunteer to review grants for them. So you want to ask to be on grant review committees. Now let's talk about where to find the money. Somebody said, show me the money. Y'all didn't sound excited. I said, show me the money. That's what I'm talking about. Here's where you can find faith-based grants. Now, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. You know government grants are hard to get. They're hard to get. And a lot of times you're denied 3 times before you get the actual grant on the 4th try. But always look at your scoring sheet, see what you missed, what you can improve on. Because a lot of times the same people are reviewing the grants. So keep applying, okay? That letter CDBG, that stands for Community Development Block Grant. That is a grant where there's multiple organizations helping the same community, but different ones are doing different things. So those are the things that I think as a church you should be looking for to partner with, because, you know, children and families, they need your services. Sometimes they need your space. They need your volunteers. So these are the ways that you can look for grants to help with your faith-based activities. The Foundation Center is one of my favorite resources. As a grant writer, I'm sure she uses the Foundation Center. There's many levels to the Foundation Center. There is a free email that you can sign up for free emails. They'll send you RFPs every week, but then there's another level where you have to pay. And the last time I paid, it was $1,500. I know that sounds a lot, but if you're serious about grant writing, you're going to invest in it because you're going to get listings. There's over 81,000 grant proposals on the Foundation Center. So most funders, they send their information to the Foundation Center. So this is one of the best resources. But I got a little tip for you. Most public libraries pays for the access. So you can go to your local library and ask them if they have access to the database for the Foundation Center. The CDs that I gave away, that's what you'll find behind the Foundation Center. You'll find every major corporation, every community foundation, every private individual, how much they gave, who they gave to, and if they will give to your organization. You'll see all the things, all the keywords that they give to. So that's a great resource. Council on Foundation, I love, 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 love this one. This is another great one. This will tell you what's given on your state level. I would go to this one first, and this one's free. They don't have any increments level where you have to pay. So as soon as you go to the website and you look for community foundations in your area, it will pull up all the addresses, phone numbers, and contact information and their website. So there's going to be a hyperlink to their website that will send you to the website so you can look at more of their criteria to see if you're a fit for them. And can I make one suggestion that if every church, if you already have your church 501c3, whether or not you do, that you have another 501c3 that's separate from the church, because otherwise you're going to miss out on all of these grants that you see from the Foundation Center and the Council of Foundations, because a lot of them don't give to religious organizations. That's why you need to have a separate one. And also, please don't name your other nonprofit, Moses Saw the Flame from the Burning Bush CDC, or God is Able CDC. Make it something that sounds like this belongs to all of us instead of just us. You follow me? Okay, so take all the names out that's, God is love, and, I'm serious, because you don't know who's on the other end. I've been meeting a lot of wealthy people, and they just, they want to give, and there's a lot of wealthy people, the baby boomers, they want to give, but if it's a church, kind of limits them. So be ready. No church left behind. This is what it's all about. Go get that money. Set up a separate 501c3 so you can do more in the community. Another website you can go to, this is another great one, the Grantsmanship Center. It has state and federal grants. So, and also have local grants, state, federal, and local grants where you can find information about who's giving money in your area. This is also a free one, but they have webinars and things that you can attend. And I encourage you to go to a grant workshop in your area. As a grant writer, I'm a seminar junkie, so I will go to different ones because I don't care. If I learn one power word, I have increased, okay? So amen. USA Spending is a website I think everybody should get familiar with, because what this website has, it has the listing of every dollar from the federal government that was given in your state and what it's given for. So as soon as you go to this website, it'll put up a map. So if I click on Texas, it already tells me that in 2013, Texas was awarded $56 million in grants. And then if I go further, it'll tell me what the grants were for, whether they're for education, whether they're for public safety, whether they're for literacy, whatever it was for. So this is where you can look at and see where the money was for. You know who applied for those grants? Your city and state officials, because they have to apply for the grants for your city. So this is why you need to always know what's going on. So when they apply for the grants for your city, a lot of times that's given to another organization that needs your help. That's why you go to USA Spending and find out what was given for your city, okay? Now, we talked about getting to know your city officials and getting to know your mayor, your congressman, letting them know what's going on. I also want to talk about relationships that you may already have or that you can build within the 50-mile radius, because I know when we think of grants, we think of that so far out. But think about what's in your community. Think about your banks, the retailers, places that you go every day, major corporations. Bank of America, Walmart, Target, Home Depot, you name it. You got all kinds of McDonald's. A lot of the McDonald's owners, they own 7 and 11 of them. So every major corporation in the United States has to give away a certain portion of their money or they're going to be taxed on it and lose it anyways. So a lot of them have money set aside for you. And some of them have foundations, and some of them have, other types of, private foundations. And their name may not be the same. So you make a phone call, pick up the phone and ask, okay? Also, what about where your friends and families work? We don't think about that, My sister works at a hotel that's, owned by 2 African-American women. I think they were in Essence. But sometimes they give away free hotel stay. Again, it's not money, but I'll stay in a hotel for a couple of days for free. So think about those kind of things. And those kind of things you can use in your fundraising events for silent auctions, or you can use it, when you have guests to come in for your other fundraising events. So the sky is the limit as far as fundraising ideas and grants. Also, this is really, really important, in-kind donation. I mentioned that, a grant is a gift. A lot of times when hotels and say this building, it decides that they want to change the decor, they want to get rid of all the green chairs and put purple chairs in. Where are these chairs going to go? A lot of times they throw them in the garbage. But a lot of times they'll call a place like United Way or somebody that has the capacity to come and get all the chairs and donate them. So think about those kind of donations. And where you can find this is at Good 360. Used to be called Gifts in Kind International. Now they're called Good 360. Now they give away things by the pallet load on an 18-wheeler. And what that means, though, is when you pay for the 18-wheeler to come, but you have to have the capacity to remove those things from the 18-wheelers when they come. Okay, but if you're not ready for that, think about on the local level. Most United Ways have a gifts in kind program where you can buy things from them for, I'm talking about pennies on a dollar. We went and bought a pallet load of items from, I forgot the name of it, but the value was $1,600. We bought it for $40. That's a steal. They have pen, paper, because every major store that has to move things, they're not moving little things, they're moving things by the pallet load, okay? So they'll send pallet loads of things to United Way, and through their Gifts in Kind program, you can go in and shop. I mean, I've seen a warehouse bigger than this that has things just for nonprofits. You have to have your 501c3 though. So think about those things. Call your United Way. Ask them if they have a Gifts in Kind program. United Way also have grant writers. We were in the session yesterday, and one lady that worked for United Way that knows about the grants, she stood up and said, yes, it's true, blah, blah, blah. So I love it when God does that. I want to talk about letters of support or endorsements. I know a lot of you are doing some wonderful things in your community, but we never get anything in writing of how you made an impact in somebody's life. It's important to get a letter of support, even for the people that you help. If you've helped somebody who came out of prison and now they have a job and they have a degree, they can write a letter of support. That weighs very heavily. But what I want you to do is think about getting a letter of support from your city officials with that little gold seal they have from the city of Dallas, from the city of Arkansas. That weighs very, very heavily. You can request them to write you a letter of support or endorsement, because when you turn in that grant, the grant maker will say, oh, wow, the city knows about them and they're doing great things. So you're going to promise you're going to do that? I also want you to come in agreement with me. I'm coming in agreement with you. I'm going to challenge you, but I'm going to believe that before we meet again, whether we meet on Facebook or in the airport, that you will at least write 10 grants by next year. Okay? See, this crowd is excited about it, and some people are like, 10? That's nothing. That's nothing. What I want you to do is find the hardest grant. Go to the grants. He's like, ooh. Go to grants.gov and find one that fits with what you do, because that's going to be the most challenging grant for you to write. Write it, because all the other ones from the community foundations, if you've written one, you've written 1,000. So if you write the hardest one, you can just copy and paste that for the smaller ones, for the community foundations. If you write at least 10, you should get at least 3 of them. Okay? And that's grants. So then what about the gifts in kind? So you got your donation letter on the CD. I don't know why people get the 501c3 approval letter and put it in the file folder in the cabinet. When I had my nonprofit, I had copies and copies of my 501c3 letter and donation letters with me in my car. When I went to Walmart, when I went to wherever, do you have donations? I was asking all the time. I was pumped up. I was excited. And so get that letter out of that file cabinet, make some copies, put it in your car, get your donation letter, be ready. That's how we get left behind, because we're not ready. Can we get ready? Tell somebody to go get that money. Amen.